See that weird ignition, though?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's just...
And it keeps going.
It doesn't stop. Welcome to the weekly Woodcast with Dennis and Michael Woodworth, and we have special guest in here this evening, a product specialist from the Nova Scotia Liquor Commission. Welcome to the show, Robert Baker.
Thank you so much, Dennis. It's great to be here.
And man, I can tell you straight up, I've been looking forward to this podcast more than any other.
Wow, me too.
And not because of just the information. It's my favorite subject when it comes to alcoholic beverages. And this time of year, we're coming into the holiday season, which involves Christmas celebrations and New Year's Eve celebrations and so on. And, you know, we've talked off camera many times about the subject, is that a lot of people just may not have the product knowledge that they may need to know to be able to make educated decisions on products that they want to buy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much to know out there, right? I mean, throughout the duration of this podcast, I'm going to do the best that I can to equip people with making the right decisions, but it ultimately comes down to the individual and doing their own research as well, right? Because that's where I got to the point where I got, just doing research. You know, I tried one Scotch, I think it was Bowmore 12, and that was kind of like the gateway Scotch to get me into Scotch.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a gateway for everything. There's a gateway into like craft beer. There's a gateway into wine, so on and so forth. So it's all about finding that gateway. And once I found that gateway, it just opened up a whole world to me.
Yeah.
Like Bowmore isn't my favorite anymore. You know, I'm not a huge fan of it, but it did open up that huge world. So it's all about that individual finding that right malt or the right wine or beer, what have you, just to open up that world. And then it's amazing, you know?
Well, speaking of beer, when we're introduced into our first experience into alcohol, whether you're a teenager or in your early 20s, and sometimes you're in your 30s, but I would say the consensus of most people would be in their mid to late teens. Mm-hmm. Some form of social experimenting into alcohol, and it's usually beer related because it's easier to transport. It doesn't hit you as hard, and you're not really experienced at all as a drinker. So a light beer or a beer is not going to affect you nearly as much as if you grab something that's a 50% spirit, like a Scotch, and then you drink it irresponsibly. You can have some serious effects pretty quickly.
You can, yeah.
So there'd be some visits to the toilet, which we, as teenagers, many of us can probably relate to at least once in our lives. So you transfer that knowledge base as a, you know, mid to late teenager, early 20s, and then you start exposing yourself to other spirits, whether it's rums or vodkas or whiskeys, whatever the case may be, and it's usually with a mix, right? Some pop or depending on, you know, it's vodka, it could be vodka and limes or vodka and orange juice, or you can get involved with, you know, a lot of different products.
It's endless, yeah.
Then ultimately you get to the more sophisticated area where there's just no mix involved. Mm-hmm. And that's where you come in because you have a strong knowledge base. Where did your passion, you know, come from?
Well, ultimately, it came out of necessity, to be honest with you. I mean, from working at the NSLC, when I first started there, I got asked questions about wine. Like, I want a big, oaky, buttery Chardonnay. And I just moved here from Toronto, and I didn't know anything about it. I just got the job there.
Right.
And so I guess it's kind of like a sense of pride when I wasn't able to answer the question.
Right.
You know, I felt like inadequate. You know, I'm not doing my job. So I started trying wines and I started trying spirits and stuff like that. And then it just kind of organically became a passion. Yeah. You know, it became a passion of mine. So I guess I was lucky that happened to me, but it ultimately came out of necessity, but quickly transformed into a passion. And
so how many years have you been learning about these product lines?
Oh, 4 years.
Wow. So how much time would you say really, when you start digging into it, if you're passionate about something, you spend endless amounts of time.
Yeah, well, I mean, it comes down to, like, if you want to learn about something, it's actually fun to learn.
It is.
And it's not hard.
Absolutely.
You know, like, I go home from work and I'll look up reviews. Like, I've got a couple people that I follow online, you know, that do all these reviews on spirits and wines and stuff like that. And that's how I spend my spare time.
So tonight, the subject is one that I'm near and dear to, which is Scotch whiskey. So let's talk about the history of Scotch whiskey, where it came from.
Well, the history of Scotch whiskey, I think it started in the 16 or 1700s. I really don't know a lot about the history of Scotch whiskey, to be honest with
Right.
you. I really can't answer that question.
Well, you think about it, it's come from Scotland.
Of course, it came from
it's
Scotland.
you have Irish whiskeys that come from Ireland. You have Scotch whiskeys. In the United States, you have a plethora of different areas that, like bourbon only comes from a specific area in the United States.
Not necessarily. It can come from anywhere in the
Really?
United States.
What's the product that has to come from a specific area, though? There's one of them. I'm trying to remember what it was. I was down. Isn't it Tennessee? Something to do with. I thought it was bourbons, but I could be wrong. Michael, check it up. Where
bourbons came ultimately from Kentucky,
right?
But
Kentucky.
I mean, to be a bourbon, it just has to follow a criteria of 51% corn,
right? Exactly.
And it has to be aged in new barrels, not used barrels.
Right.
Contrary to Scotch, where they use used barrels, they'll use an ex-bourbon barrel, an ex-sherry barrel. Some of them are finished in wine casks. It's limitless. Where bourbon has to be from a new barrel. And usually they char it, they toast it, and there are different levels of charring.
Right.
They could do a light char, or they could do like a heavy, known as like an alligator char,
right,
to get more of that cask influence. And with the other 49%, contrary to the 51% corn, they can have their own mash bill, which is like rye or barley, or they can up the corn. So they've got a little bit of leadway. But it can, as long as it follows that criteria, it can be from anywhere. You can get bourbon from any state.
What's the product line, Michael, out of Cincinnati? I'm trying to remember that. My good friend Dougie Jones would know that. God, where would that be? Anyway, I'm not going to. It's not even our subject tonight, so I don't even know why I'm going in that direction.
It's still a good subject.
That's
though.
another another time and another place. So
sure.
let's talk about some differences here tonight, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 10 bottles here tonight, and there's some significant differences between those bottles. I can definitely see.
Yes.
So let's talk about one of your favorites.
Well, one of my favorites. It's really hard to answer that question ultimately because, like we were talking about before, Dennis, it depends on my mood.
Right.
It depends if I want something pretty, something soft, something punch you in the face, something really smoky, something lightly smoky.
Okay, so let's talk about moods. What's your mood tonight?
My mood tonight is I want to try all of them. Try to keep an open mind, and I hope you'll have an open mind too.
Long conversation.
Yeah.
Which I have no problem having tonight at all, Robert.
Yeah.
Trust me.
That's cool.
Let's go into something that's fruity, which is usually something that I normally drink.
All right. Well,
so
it's something that I thought that we would start with, and kind of work our way up.
Yeah.
Because we're going to start with the prettier styles, the nicer styles, and then we're going to get into kind of like the heavier, smokier, earthier kind of stuff. And it's better to start with the lighter stuff, because if you start with the heavy, smoky stuff, it can really inhibit your palate.
Right.
And enjoying the other ones.
I've been told that.
Important to do it in a proper succession. So what I would like to start with is a high-quality Irish. And that is known as Yellow Spot.
Fantastic. I've never had this.
You will very soon.
I have never had it.
And what it is, this one in particular, there's a couple of different lines within their portfolio. There's a green spot, there's a yellow spot, and there's a red spot.
Okay. I see this is a yellow spot.
Yep, that's the one in the middle.
Okay.
The green spot is a 10-year. This one is a 12-year, and the red spot is a 15-year.
Okay.
I've tried them all, and in my opinion, the yellow spot is the best.
Okay.
And a lot of people associate, why isn't the red spot better? It's older. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's better. It depends on how it's been crafted, how it's been blended. And if you look at this one in particular, it is fully matured in ex-bourbon barrels, sherry barrels, and Malaga barrels. Malaga is a city in the southern coast of Spain that is known for their sweet wines.
Okay.
So it's like a sweet wine barrel. And I'd like to highlight that it is fully matured in those barrels rather than finished. Because a lot of Scotch companies, after the blend, they'll then put it in like a wine barrel or sherry barrel for a couple of months and finish it.
Right.
Where these are fully matured in those barrels.
Okay.
And then blended. So that's something a little different. I think that's what makes this a higher quality whiskey than the red spot.
Okay.
So we can try it if you'd like.
Don't twist my arm. I'm even going to use the purpose glass that came from the whiskey prison where we visited in North Carolina a couple years ago. So
Just a little snifter there.
yeah.
So,
Now, when you're tasting any type of Scotch whiskey, what do you recommend people to do with a glass like this? It's built to do what?
well, essentially what this is or what that is like you look at the shape, right?
Right.
Ultimately what it is an aroma collector. So you're able to smell it, because like smelling is 80% of tasting.
Yeah.
It's kind of preparing you for what you're about to taste.
Absolutely.
And I see a lot of these like Scotch reviews and stuff where they go really crazy with their flavor profiles, like Lapsang Souchong tea or birch bark and stuff like that, which is great and all. But I mean, not everybody has tasted Lapsang Souchong tea.
That is the truth.
Or birch
I know
bark.
I haven't.
So, I mean, the way I look at it is totally subjective. You can only really smell and associate smells and taste to things that you've tasted and smelled before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is no right or wrong answer to it. So, yeah, that's the way I look at it.
Not everyone's going to smell the same.
What do you got there?
A little
Stick your-
citrusy.
Yep.
I don't think there's honey in it, but it sure smells like there's a little bit of honey in there.
Some candied elements
Yeah,
in
almost,
there.
yeah.
Riches, yeah.
But a nice aroma.
Yeah.
Very nice aroma. Caramel, you can definitely smell the caramel.
Slightly
which is,
floral.
I love.
Yep. Maybe some dried fruit, like a dried apricot or something like that.
Absolutely. Which the time of year that you're going to, that's just the perfect time you have all those ingredients in anything, right?
Yeah.
Can you ever smell the caramel now? As soon as you said the word caramel,
Exactly.
instantly.
Yeah. It ultimately comes down to practice too, right? I mean, you just gotta
Absolutely.
you really drag your nose in there.
Oh yeah, that's an easy one.
Oh yeah.
And that's the difference when I started to be a Scotch drinker was you can really taste the product when it's not watered down, and it's not manipulated by cola or some kind of juice.
Yep. Take it in its raw form type of deal. Again, like I'm going to go back to beer because I'm a huge beer fan too and a wine fan, but whatever. Because there's so many beers out there these days that are like flavored with this, sour this, They got all these extracts in them and stuff like that. You don't really need that. You just need to brew a beer well.
Yeah.
You got to craft it. You got a good blend of hops and stuff like that. And you just a well-done beer. And this comes down to this as well. It's just a well-crafted whiskey, ultimately.
It really is. Now, we live on the east coast of Canada in Nova Scotia. What would a bottle of that cost around here?
It's $100.
So it's around $100.
Yeah.
Which would be slightly above average, I would think. What would be the average cost you would see it at the Liquor Commission?
$70 to $80.
Yeah, that's
for
what
a decent one,
Yeah.
well-known one or whatever.
Yeah.
This one's a little higher than that.
Yeah. So you tend to have, people that are buying this bottle, they are buying it for taste, right? I mean, and they know the taste.
Yep. I mean, a lot of people do buy it for taste, but a lot of people do buy it for social status as well.
True. When you have the bottle,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a status symbol in some cases of what you've chosen.
Yeah.
I've got a good friend of mine that always seems to have a certain bottle of product, and because it represents his choice,
Yeah.
right? It's a conversation piece too.
Yeah, absolutely. And a
no
lot of
question.
it is too. I've seen it before, like bragging rights. I go over
Yeah.
to my buddy's house. He's got like a $2,000 bottle of Scotch, and he's,
That's funny because Michael and I were in the Caribbean, and we were at the front desk and in the lobby of a hotel, and they had a 25-year Shiva Regal, which is typically, depending on where you buy it, I know down in the States it's about $350 a bottle U.S., and he convinced me to buy it, and it is super smooth, but it's also $350 U.S. for one bottle.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not buying those every night, I don't think.
No, but I mean, you also have to ask yourself, it is good, but is it $350?
Exactly.
You know,
That's the choice you make, right?
You can get something quite comparable. It might not be as good, but you're still going to enjoy it
Right.
quite a bit for
Exactly.
a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or
No question.
if you really know what you're doing and do your research, you could probably even find something better than that for a fraction of the cost.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one.
That's a good one.
Another thing I'd like to point out, too, at this one and other ones that you're going to see when we go down the gauntlet here is this one in particular is non-chill filtered.
Right.
And there's no added color. There's a lot of these companies that will add caramel coloring to it to make it look richer and darker and deeper.
Course.
And what chill filtering is they freeze the spirit and all the sediment and oils solidify and then they filter it out. So what that does is it cleans it up, makes it look better, makes it smoother, but also you're taking a lot of the meat, the substance out of the spirit, right? So you're not getting a full representation of the spirit.
Right.
So for those of you out there that are looking for, like what kind of whiskeys to buy, a good box to check off or couple would be non-chill filtered and natural color. It's not the end-all tell-all. You can still get really good whiskeys that do chill filter and color, but that's a good kind of guideline to go by to make sure you're getting a quality product. And also I'd like to point out, most malts that are unchill filtered natural color will be 46% or higher.
Okay.
As this one is, and as you will see, a few of those other ones will be, is because when something has that much substance to it, the alcohol acts as a carrier for the flavors. So you need about 46% or higher to really ignite those flavors, right? So I'm sure you felt a little bit of a burn, but after that, you got a huge flavor blast right after
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. No question. I see that a lot when a new drinker has never had Scotch before, and then they take a product taste. They're not used to having that small, slight burn from swallowing it. So you don't gulp it.
No, you don't gulp it.
Right, you don't gulp it.
Sips here and there.
Little sips, absolutely. Now, the water. Why the water? So that people know that we're going to be drinking water tonight here, too.
Well, why the water is just simply to clean our palate in between tastings. That's pretty much it. And I put a little bit of water in here because we're going to experiment. I got a few cask strength, which are pretty high in alcohol.
Okay.
Like I'm trying to encompass many different aspects of whiskey throughout this podcast. So I brought the water so we could experiment with cask strength.
Okay.
Because cask strength is literally, it's straight out of the cask. It hasn't been watered down.
I'm interested to see that for sure. I'm looking forward to that.
Because what it is like the in the barrels, the alcohol, there's evaporation.
Of course, yeah.
That happens over the years or whatever. So it will just naturally, the alcohol percentage will naturally go down. It usually goes in the cask at about 90%. And over the years, it will eventually naturally go down, and then they'll just bottle it straight out of the cask.
Right.
Where most companies will water it down to what they think is the sweet spot of alcoholic content.
Right.
So that's why I would like us to experiment with some cask strength, and that's why I brought it.
All right, let's go on to the second one.
All right, well, let me finish.
Yeah, come on, man.
Okay.
We only have 10.
Okay.
I think we have 9 because I think I've already dropped all the Drambuie out. So we'll have to just reference Drambuie as a reference. But
all right. So you want to do another one of mine or another one of yours?
Let's go on your journey for a little while.
All right. So the next one we're going to do is a malt that I've been a little apprehensive to open, but since it's such a special occasion, I'm going to open it for us. One of my favorite reviewers, online. I don't know if you guys have heard of him, but his name is Ralphie, Ralphie.com.
Yep,
if you
I
guys
have.
ever want to learn a
Pull him up,
lot
Michael,
about whiskey, look up Ralphie.com because he's taught me more than any school or any book could ever teach me. Absolutely brilliant. And I think it was 2015, don't quote me on this, or 2016, he deemed this his Scotch whiskey of the year.
Really?
And so we're going to try it.
Well, I'm honored that we're opening up this bottle of Scotch for the first time on the weekly Woodcast. And
Yep. I have had it before, and I liked it so much, I went out to seek another bottle. And then I've been holding it on up until now. And here we go. And I'm also trying to encompass as many different areas in
Right.
Scotland as possible to try to highlight the different styles out there. And again, this one is non-chill filtered, natural color, 46%. He very much goes after that criteria. Like when he gives good reviews or when he gives a bad review, he was like, if it was 46% and natural color and unchill filtered, I would have gave it a higher mark. So that's something he always looks for.
Yeah.
You know, he may be a little bit biased. I'm not sure, but he really knows
based on his
stuff.
Education.
Yeah, it's just
That's where his knowledge base comes from, right?
Yep.
So
And more often than not, he's right, in my opinion.
how many followers does Ralphie.com have, Michael? That's his is that his website? His YouTube channel. He's got 143,000 subscribers. That's not too bad.
Yep.
Thanks, Ralphie. I appreciate it, man. Tonight I'm giving you credit, Ralphie.
Thanks, Ralphie.
Yeah, because Robert and you've got a good student here, so you've done a good job. We appreciate it from the Lunenburg County. Too crazy then.
It's all right.
It's a long podcast.
I will reciprocate accordingly here.
Yeah, this is a celebratory.
So, even though, you know, we got a lot to go through, we got a very limited amount of time, there is something I'd like to mention about like a malt about this.
Yeah.
A malt like this or with an age statement usually needs air after you open it up.
Right.
Ralphie says 1 minute for every year. So this 15 years.
Very cool.
15 minutes. But what I do when I buy a new malt, I'm really excited to try it. I'll go home. I'll pour a dram like this.
Yeah.
I'll make my dinner. I'll let my dog out type of deal, you know.
Yeah.
Let it air out for a good hour because it needs to be taken out of its cage, right? It needs to, you know, unleash the beast type of deal. And it needs oxygen. And I always recommend to people, if they're going to be drinking Scotch, drink it to about here, about down there, and then put it in the cupboard for about 2 weeks. So this one is from the Highlands. Highlands is the biggest region in Scotland, and it doesn't really have a definitive style. They're kind of all over the place.
Right.
Like Highland Park is from the
absolutely.
Highlands. Glendronach is another one. It's a sherry monster. They're kind of just everywhere.
Michael, pull up how many Scotch distilleries are in Scotland alone.
Oh, that's a tough one because they're always popping up, too.
Yeah. But Google gives a good idea.
So it's saying they're, 130?
In a very small area. Scotland's not a huge place. Well, geographically has some space, but there's only a few major central areas when it comes to the Highlands.
But not only that, I mean, there's distilleries popping up left, right, and center there.
Oh, yeah.
Because, the Scotch world or whiskey world is really exploding these days. You know, so everybody's trying to get, everybody's trying to get a part of the action. And also there's a lot of opportunities for them to really define themselves and express themselves.
Well, there's a guy like Conor McGregor from the UFC that started to promote his own whiskey line, his Irish whiskey line. So they're always using their personality to represent a product line.
Yes.
And that's been around for generations.
Yes, it is.
It has been for sure.
But that's also something that you got to look out for, too.
100%.
Right? You just don't want to pay for the name.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. You want to pay for the product and the workmanship behind it.
Exactly.
And I've gone to a distillery whiskey prison in Southern Grace, which is in North Carolina, and they do bourbon. And it, when you see how it's done, the work that goes into it, the craftsmanship and passion behind it. The profitability isn't even a big part of it, really.
No.
I mean, some people are profitable, but there's a lot of them that aren't overly profitable, but they love to do it.
They love to do it.
They really do.
And if you really do love to do it, the profit will just come later automatically, because your love going into this glass, you can't deny it.
Yeah. It's like I wouldn't call it similar to a child. I mean, you're creating something from what you love.
Yeah.
And that's just hard to explain to someone who's never done it before. But if you talk to someone who actually has created a product like this, you can see the passion beyond imagination.
Yep. But back to talking about this one a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
It is, again, unchill filtered, natural color. It's a 15-year, and it's very, very simply done. It's just ex-bourbon barrels.
Let's talk. It's single malt versus
it is a single malt.
blended.
Yes,
right. There's
correct.
a blended and a single. What's the difference between the two?
Well, the difference between the two, I mean, like most single malts are blended, but they're blended within that one distillery.
Right.
You know, and a blended Scotch, they source Scotches from other distilleries.
Yeah, that's
you know,
different, right?
And then they'll blend them themselves.
Yeah.
And they don't necessarily need to be single malt. What single malt is pretty much is like a sprouted barley.
Right.
Which is malted barley. And when you malt it, it has a natural enzyme that allows the starches convert into sugar, and then you add the yeast, and then it becomes alcohol. Where a single grain barley, they will have to add that enzyme to it in order to convert the starches into sugar.
Okay.
And a blended Scotch could be single grain, could be single
could
malt.
be a multitude of different things.
Yeah, and it's just constantly ever changing. It depends on the company, right? But it has to be a single malt, has to be malted barley, and it has to be from the one distillery, a single distillery.
Well, let's try this distillery. 15
right.
year. This is a gift for you
Give it
and
a good
for me.
smell. Smell it.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, dig your nose in there. Really get in there. Don't be shy. Almost like a marshmallow going on there.
It's very different than the first one.
Oh yeah,
Very different.
a little salty.
Not as much. I don't smell any caramel really, or very very light hint of it compared to the other one.
Still got a bit of a maltiness.
Oh
to
yeah,
it,
no,
though.
definitely the maltiness is there, but
I almost got like some berries. Almost
yeah,
like a
fruity,
strawberry,
like a really fruity.
mixed berries. You could do a blueberry as well.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, but you can almost like smell the richness, you know,
Absolutely.
like the texture. You could smell the
question.
texture of it, like the rich
The
texture.
fineness of it, you can really differentiate that there's a difference
Oh yeah,
right away.
almost like a white chocolate too. Oh, man, that's good.
Yeah,
That's really
that's
good.
what I'm talking about.
Oh,
There's not a bit of bite in that at all.
no,
That's just smooth as silk.
exactly.
It really is.
Yep. And it'll only get smoother if I were to let this out for a little bit.
Yeah, the longer you let it sit out, the smoother
Yep.
it would be.
Yep, absolutely.
There's not a bite in that at all.
No, just
not
pure
one bit.
flavor. A little bit of saltiness, a little bit of grassiness as well, some vegetal notes.
Absolutely.
But like really, really fruity and really rich malt. And to highlight this particular Scotch
Right.
and another one we're going to try, Lagavulin, they use a particular type of still, which is a short, fat neck still, which retains a lot of that malt, that rich maltiness.
Right.
And that's what you're getting from this spirit, where like a longer neck will have a more refined spirit.
Okay.
You know, it won't be as rich and as malty, but it will be prettier and maybe a little bit more approachable.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the shape of the stills is a major factor.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of many major factors. Right? And these guys do this thing called dunnage maturation. So what that is the barrels, it's at earth level, and they only stack them about 3 or 4 high, rather than stacking them all the way up.
Yeah,
to
I've seen them.
ceiling.
The one I was at, I think, was 6 high.
Yeah. And what that does is it reduces variations in temperature over the years.
Right.
So you have a more even maturation.
Very true, because the temperature at the bottom is much different than it is in the top of the building.
Exactly, yeah. So usually the higher quality ones, and this is a small privately owned
Are
company.
lower?
Yeah.
Lower near the floor.
And a lot of these bigger names don't do that because they can't produce as much, right?
Yeah, they need
They're
more
trying
production.
to pump out the volume. Where distilleries like
Now,
this,
listen, Robert, you're starting to say things like that. You're talking about the 80s. You start pumping out the volume.
Yeah, I lived in the 80s. I was alive. I remember. A great malt, though.
Bub, that would be an evening of enjoyment beyond imagination. It's very smooth. Anyone that wants a solid bottle of Scotch, that bottle of Scotch right there, worth every penny.
Absolutely.
What are we talking about for price point in that?
$100.
Wow, that's worth every penny.
Absolutely. If you ask me, this rivals a lot of like $200 or $300 bottles.
Yeah.
Again, because a lot of times you're paying for the name.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't mean to slam Macallan.
No.
You know, they do really nice whiskeys, but a lot of it you're paying for the name. Like the Macallan 12 year is $100. It's like $98.
Right.
If you compare it to this, in my opinion, this is so much better. I mean, it took so much more time and patience to craft something like this. It is just, it's night and day, if you ask me.
I'll tell you what, anybody watching this podcast, and we're going to be launching this, 2 or 3 weeks before Christmas. If you're looking for a solid bottle of Scotch to put in your cabinet for the Christmas holidays, that's one to definitely put in that cabinet for sure.
Glencadam 15. It's hard to find, though, but
wonderful.
If you get your hands on it, and it's all about, like, you really got to keep your eyes open, right?
Yeah.
Especially in Nova Scotia. We're such a small drop in the bucket when it comes to the market.
No question.
So if something like this does come around, like I bought 2 bottles of this, you got to jump right on it. So it's all about, like, kind of keeping your ear to the ground.
Now, Robert, I mean, you're obviously on social media platforms, so you're on Facebook. Mm-hmm. You don't mind if our listeners drop you a line, say hello if they're definitely interested?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's something you could definitely do, because Robert is working there all the time on a regular basis. If you're looking for something and something comes in that you're interested in, he may be able to give you some insight that when it comes into the store, you can get it right away. And that's one I would definitely send a message to Robert about, because that's a goodie right there for sure.
It is. It is.
No question.
Yeah.
All right. I'm struggling with this. I really am. This is the most difficult podcast for me, Michael. I don't know. Really, you have to step in and take over for me, because I'm just struggling.
Okay. We've only just begun.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, well, let me finish this here.
Yeah, you take your time. That one's worth taking all the time.
I know, yeah.
Wow.
But for me, whenever I do a dram, I'm not really drinking to get drunk or whatever. Like, sure, if I get a buzz, it's a happy accident. But, I mean, when I pour about this much or a little bit more, it will last me about a half an hour.
Yeah.
And to me...
Yeah, lucky you. That's not lasting me a half an hour. I can tell you that. Not a chance.
I guess it depends on my intention, but I just get off work. I just want to chill. This is meditative to me.
I always found that typically I know if I sit down for an evening and I want to enjoy a bottle of Scotch, I know what my limiters are, because it's pretty consistent. Depending on how much you eat in an evening would be one thing, but for me, it's just really sitting down and relaxing, conversing. It's a therapeutic experience for me, because alcohol's a depressant. So it allows you to relax.
Yep.
And a bottle of Scotch has done that for me more than any other type of alcohol.
Absolutely. Me too.
No question. No question.
If you have a hard day at work or something like that, you're like, oh, damn it, that was a tough day.
Did you have any of those before?
Yeah.
I don't remember any of those. What are you talking about?
You just kind of want to wipe your head of the day.
Absolutely.
You pour this, you sit down, you take that first drink. And it's not so much that it's an alcoholic beverage. It just tastes so good.
It is.
It just
the taste is phenomenal.
It's just like an incredible escape. It takes you to your special place, whatever that may be.
Well, it's already. I have had my whole glass already. It's taken me to a good place already, Robert.
All right. So just 1 second here. I'm going to get a little spoon that I brought for us.
Okay, sure.
We're going to need it.
All right. So if you want to ask any questions in regards to what Robert's covering tonight, you can certainly put questions in the bottom of our Facebook page where the video's launched, as well as on our YouTube channel. Any comments or questions you can lead to Robert. You can also go to his Facebook page, which we'll put in our comment section below this video on YouTube. And you can also listen to us on Spotify and Apple. And that information will be there as well. So, no, this is a very informative session I've had already. And I've been a Scotch fan for the last probably, 3 to 4 years. A good friend of mine here that is an entrepreneur, actually a multimillionaire. He's a Scotch guy too. And one of the things I want to point out too, for people that might be like diabetics, a lot of people go to those sugar-free coolers that are loaded full of aspartame or, sugar substitutes, which aren't really good for your body.
They're worse than sugar.
Scotch whiskey has no sugar.
Nope.
Which was one of the major factors for me, because I wanted to eliminate sugar in my diet completely, because as much as I could within reason. Mm-hmm. And that's why I started to go in the Scotch whiskey direction. Mm-hmm. I'm glad I did. But it's definitely for someone who's a diabetic or type 2 diabetic, mm-hmm. acquiring a taste for Scotch whiskey would be a good step in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Because a lot of them do have a nice sweetness to them.
Absolutely.
You know,
you don't lose the sweetness
Yeah.
at all if you pick the right ones.
Yep, that's
At all.
right.
All right, the spoon. Talk to me about the spoon. Why the spoon?
Okay, well, we'll find out here.
All right. You're making me nervous, man.
Good. What we're going to do next is a pretty unique bottle. And this is where we're going to get into the cask strength.
Oh,
what
yeah.
I described earlier.
Natural case strength, unpeated style.
Yeah. And why they say unpeated style, because this one in particular is called Caol Ila 15-year.
Right.
And it's from a region called Islay. And I'm not sure if everybody knows what that is, but it's an island just off the west coast of Scotland.
Okay.
And it's known for its really smoky, peaty, in-your-face, really medicinal, dirty kind of scotches.
I see it's a lot stronger.
It is. Yeah, that's cask strength. We're looking at 60%. So we're going to delve into a different aspect of the Scotch right now. This one in particular, though, why I picked this one, it is owned by, I'm not sure you guys are familiar with the company Diageo, but they own almost they're the biggest liquor company in the world.
Right.
They own a ton of different companies, like Smirnoff and Ciroc and a lot of Scotch companies. They own this particular distillery. And Caol Ila asked them if they could do an unpeated. And
Really?
Yeah, with the right campaigning, Diageo allowed them to do it.
Very cool.
Because most of their malts are peated, because that's what they're known for.
Right. Yeah.
So they wanted to do an unpeated to kind of step away from the standard style of Islay. And they did a cask strength. So you're looking at, 61% alcohol.
Yeah, that's a boost right there.
It is a boost. And with regards to cask strength, in my experiences, some of them I can take cask strength.
Right.
I can take it. This one in particular, I couldn't.
Okay.
It's hot. So what we're going to do, we're going to try it straight, and we're going to add a little bit of water and see what it does to it.
The difference.
Yeah,
Okay.
because adding water can kind of, obviously it makes it easier to drink, but also it changes the flavor of it as
Right.
well.
Okay.
You know, it's different nuances.
It looks, in appearance, it's lighter.
Yes.
Looks lighter.
It is lighter, yep. But that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
61%. That's not lighter.
I do believe it's just, again,
That should kick you right in the ass. You're not drinking half a bottle in the night, I can tell you that.
Straight expert.
You drink half a bottle of that, and you call me in the morning.
So what I get from this one, like Islay, because it's an island, you get a lot of maritime influences. A very common flavor profile that people use is like Band-Aid, medicinal, iodine, salty, briny, seashelly.
Wow.
And what I get from this is all of that without the smoke.
Okay.
So let's give it a try.
Yeah.
Here we go. Just make sure you save a little bit for the water, buddy. So even though it has a wonderful flavor, when I ever try this one, you get the flavor, but you feel like...
Oh, it's got to burn, man. It's got to go right to the bottom, right?
Yeah, precisely.
It has to.
Give it a good nosing. Seems pretty mellow.
It is. It's very light.
Yeah, very, very light.
The aroma is very different.
But you do get a bit of that dirtiness. You get some earthiness from it. Almost like a little iodine-y, some saltiness.
Yeah, I
briny.
could definitely, the iodine kicks right in there.
Yeah.
I can smell that. Distinctly different.
Yeah. But then again, you're getting your caramelly notes and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're getting that too. It's amazing that all those smells are prevalent at the same time.
Yep. Maybe a little bit of
But
apple.
when you smell different breasts, you smell different things too.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's try.
Cheers.
Not that bad.
No, it's not.
No.
But there it is there.
Yeah, I know. It's like,
There it goes.
It's like, woo.
There it goes. First 2 seconds, not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Second 3 and 4, beep,
Yep.
got you.
Yep.
But it's nice.
Yep.
It is.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't need any water for that.
But we're gonna try.
We're gonna
some
try
water
it, yeah.
just for the fun of it, right?
That was. I'd have no problem with that.
Yep.
Except maybe later in the evening. But,
yeah.
But yeah, I'd have no problem with that at all.
You see how it's like really salty?
Oh yeah, you can just
Super salty.
You can feel it, like you really can. It's a completely different experience than the first two.
Yep.
Completely different experience.
Really salty and briny.
Yeah.
Like you're on the
really
shore
good
of a
conversation piece to talk about. That's what's so great about a bottle of Scotch is that if you have friends, you're sitting around a table, whatever the case may be, you can discuss the product.
Mm-hmm.
It's not we're going to crack open Budweiser and just, it's Bud, right?
Have you ever heard of Budweiser?
Yeah, have you ever heard of that? And you know what it tastes like,
Yeah.
This is very distinctly different than the first two and enjoyable, very much.
Yep.
Very much.
So we're going to try a little bit of water.
A little bit of water.
A lot of these people use straws, or they got these fancy glass little straws that they use.
There's always something to buy, right?
I just use a teaspoon.
Yeah.
Like a teaspoon is 5 milliliters. So you can control what you're putting in there. You don't have to put in the whole 5 milliliters.
Exactly.
We're just going to try a few little drops.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. See? Little bang there. Just let it do its thing. And a good thing to do is just kind of take your glass and roll it around a little bit. Instead of like shaking it or swirling it, just roll it around a little bit like that. Get some oxygen running through there.
Now I know why I bought these glasses down in the U.S. for tonight, man.
Yep.
We have never used them until tonight, which I will continue to use them.
Well, give it a smell. You're going to see that it seems a little maltier, a little sweeter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's more
I
sweetness.
can smell caramel right away,
Yep.
like more caramel right away.
Immediately, yeah. See how that little bit of water just changes it exponentially. And that's one of the things I like about Cask Strength is it gives the consumer a lot of leadway to add water and bring it down to their preferred ABV.
Right.
Alcohol by volume.
Yeah.
Where a 40%, you can add water, but you have to be really careful because it can go flat on you.
Yeah.
You'll lose everything.
Yeah.
So that's why I like to gravitate towards higher alcohol for the most part, because it gives you the opportunity to kind of mess around with it and customize it. Yeah.
Can you ever taste the saltiness in that,
yeah.
man?
The saltiness
And the
came
caramel.
Up. Yep.
I'm almost thinking when I was a kid, those caramel bars.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Like straight up thinking about that caramel bar.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It did change it a lot. It's more of the salt and the malt itself, the rich malt.
Amazing.
You don't get as much as like the
That
brininess.
is well done.
Mm-hmm. It's a well-crafted whiskey, yeah.
Price of that bottle?
This one was $130.
Yeah, well, $30 difference is not that big of a deal if you want to spend a good evening.
Exactly. And just to have something different in your cabinet, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, depending on one's mood.
Very much, because that is definitely something that's different, mood-based. Like you would, if you had, I know exactly what you're saying. And typically, I've been that guy that's pretty much bought the same Scotch all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've changed recently.
Yeah.
Experimented a little bit, but I needed, and I've had some other ones. Arborg was one of them that's very oaky, smoky.
Oh, yeah.
Very smoky.
In your face.
Oh, man, it punches you right in the face. Good buddy of mine, Mike Pope. A shout out to Mike. He remembers that alumni event that we had at our school event, and we brought his son actually recommended the bottle, and we bought it. I went, whoa, that is a whole different experience like, right there. Wham! It's like you're drinking wood.
Yeah.
But it was very good, very distinctly different. Mm-hmm. That could be in anyone's cabinet for sure.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yep. So again, encompassing all the different styles. I mean, that was one of my intentions coming onto this show, is to try to encompass the broad range of malts as much as I could, because we only have so much time.
Exactly.
I think it was a good representation of the different styles.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm. We can go on to the next one.
Because you're slower than I am.
Because I left 15. Well, I'm talking. All right. Okay. All right. Next, we're going to start getting into kind of like the bigger, heavier, smokier, kind of in your face kind of stuff. We did the prettier styles. We did the
Right.
Isla unpeated, working our way up to it. So we're going to start to get into some much different styles.
So we're doing the Jeffersons. We're moving on up.
Yeah, precisely. So what we're going to do next is another cask strength. And it is one of my favorite distilleries. Which is Benromach.
Distinctly different in appearance.
Yes, because it does have some sherry influence.
Right.
You
can see that.
I think, don't quote me on this, I think it's about 80% ex-bourbon, about 20% ex-sherry. And that 20% ex-sherry makes a big difference. It's going to make it really fruity. It is lightly peated. And one thing to note, this is from Speyside. Speyside is known for the really prettier, lighter, easy drinking, fruity type of scotches. This one, they're starting to experiment with peated styles.
Okay.
And one thing to note is the peat from Speyside is different than the peat from Isla, known for their smoky scotches or whatever.
Right. Okay.
What it is, it's an ancient decomposed forest. I think it's called the Caledonius forest. Don't quote me on that. But it's 10,000-year-old decomposed trees.
These guys go like to the greatest extremes to find the different flavors. They really do, don't they?
It's ridiculous, yeah. So it is a wood-based peat, where Isla, that island, it's a moss-based peat.
Right.
So they're different styles. This is more like campfire-y, cindery.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Where the Islas are more earthy and grimy and briny type of smoky type of deal. And you're going to see that a little bit with this one. This, again, like I said, is one of my favorite distilleries. It's a small, privately owned company. Great value stuff.
Okay.
Anything from this distillery, you're getting a good malt. Again, it does the dunnage maturation like the Glencadam that we tried.
Mm-hmm.
And they only use first fill barrels.
Really?
Which means like they just got it, from America, the ex-bourbon barrels
Right.
or ex-sherry casks or whatever. It's only been filled once, obviously, with either the bourbon or the sherry. And then they throw it away.
Wow.
They don't reuse their casks, which a lot of other companies will do. Some companies will recharge the barrel to try to reactivate it, to get as much as they can out of the barrel. Not these guys. Always first fill. And that makes a huge difference. And again, that goes back to me saying it's not the age that makes it, a good whiskey.
It's the way it's made.
It's the way it's made. It's the way it's blended. I think this one in particular, it's got a vintage date. It's 10 years old. Distilled in 2009, bottled in 2019. So it's a 10-year. But again, we're doing cask strength.
Exactly.
So this one's sitting at 57.1% alcohol.
Nothing wrong with that.
This one in particular, I found that I didn't need to add water to it. It was beautiful as it was.
Wow.
It's going to have a lot of depth, a lot of richness, sweet, sour, salty, savory. It's going to encompass all the different styles.
And if you drink half a bottle, you're in serious trouble.
all the different flavors. And what I like about this particular distillery is you don't need to be an expert to enjoy it.
Right.
Some people just try a malt and they're like, I really like that. I don't know why I like that, but I like it.
Well,
and that's good
your
enough.
brain tells you that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
But also a connoisseur can really pick it apart, so it's good for either beginners or experts.
I appreciate anyone that has gone through an education process when it comes to this, but everyone has their own personal...
Of course.
They have their own personal tastes.
I mean, even if you like drinking 40 Creek on its own and that's your favorite, I mean, then I can't down that.
No, and some people buy something just for price.
Yeah.
And then they like it, but they haven't experimented.
Yeah.
Right? That's the other thing that I learned is that the friend of mine that loves Shiva Regal, right? Mm-hmm. He led me into that way of buying Scotch. But I've learned to, expand from there based on a starting point.
Exactly. Your gateway, like I was saying earlier.
Yeah, the gateway. And I just really have learned to open the possibility of really understanding the product more. And that's why I wanted you to come on the podcast, because I think a lot of people get set in their ways that in beer, I'm an Olin's guy, or I'm a Keith guy, I'm a Blue guy, whatever the case may be. And I think sometimes too, especially in Atlantic Canada, when it comes to rums, Captain Morgan's one of the big product lines, right?
They like it. They like it.
You know what I mean? But I think when it comes to Scotch, it's so distinctively different.
It is.
That's why I use it. It's a mature product. It really is. That if you take the time to learn it, you really get to see the benefits of the workmanship.
Absolutely.
And that's where the value in the product comes. When you buy something, you're buying workmanship.
Exactly.
Right? You're buying an incredible amount of experience and knowledge that they put that love into that product.
Passion and art is what you're buying.
Art is the perfect word. It really is.
Yeah. And it comes through to you. It transcends onto you as well. When you try it, you're just like, oh, my God.
And the other thing, too, I've tried to do is watch YouTube videos on the companies and the owners that built the product. So I can really get from their voice, from their heart, from their soul, why they, decided to do this, right? So I would encourage anyone that you walk into and see Robert. He works regularly here in our hometown of Bridgewater. To be able to see you, and that's why I've invited you to the show, is you made an impact on me in regards to just visibly and seeing your passion of wanting to entertain people at an informational level of your product knowledge. You can feel it in the store.
Yeah, thanks.
And that doesn't come from everyone.
That's what I'm trying to do, too, because people
You stand out, man. You really do.
They think that I'm like, oh, you're just trying to sell it.
No, you stand out.
It's your job.
You always have.
I'm trying to step away from that, but still I'm also trying to retain my job as well. So it's a difficult balance.
Well, there's other products in the store.
Yeah.
Right? But to be a product specialist, you have to, even in baseball, if you're a baseball coach, but if you're the hitting coach, you're a product specialist. If you're a pitching coach, you're a product specialist.
Yep.
So you're still a baseball coach, right? But you specialize in a specific area.
Absolutely.
And that becomes an asset to the client base that walks through a door.
Exactly.
Because they're asking specific questions that could eventually lead someone into a product line that they'd be open to just because of your knowledge.
Exactly.
So,
well,
cheers to you, man.
Very much a community, too. I mean, I was born here. I'm from here. I moved to Toronto for 20 years, decided I was done with the city. I wanted to come back home, and I want to be a part of the community. And
there's 5 million people there, man.
Yeah, I know.
There's 8,500 here.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
But you can walk to work where you live.
Yeah.
You're not doing that in the city very often.
But I don't know. I want to be back with my people, my family, and I want to contribute to the community.
Well, you're an asset to it. You really are.
I appreciate it.
To be, so passionate about what you do means a lot to me, and I know it does to a lot of other people. So you make an impact.
Appreciate it, Dennis.
Cheers to you.
Cheers to this. Give it a good smell.
I'm struggling with this, I'm telling you.
Yeah, you can get that little bit of smoky earthiness.
Another completely different smell.
Yep. But try your best to look past that smoke.
Oh, Michael, you'd like this one. Yeah.
But again, you get that little bit of smoke. It's not heavy.
Oh, you can smell it right away.
Well, but behind there's a lot of fruit going on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No question. Oh,
again, you got your red fruit,
100%.
raspberry, strawberry.
You can smell it right away.
You got nice bright vanilla. And that smokiness, really try to get that smokiness.
And I don't smell any caramel at all yet at all.
No.
Because the smokiness really takes over initially. Yeah. The vanilla, you can definitely smell, which is nice. Nice.
It's like smoky, yet really, really fruity.
Yeah, which is a great blend. And it's 57.1%.
It is. A cask strength again.
Yeah, cask strength. I mean, it's.
Well, let's try it.
Yeah, let's go. That is beautiful.
That's amazing.
Buddy.
Yeah. So beautifully balanced, eh?
Crazy to say, but so far that's my favorite.
Yeah. Like I said, it's my
and
favorite
I've loved
distillery.
all of them so far. Wow.
Yeah.
Now,
it's just like
just seconds after I said that, even more smokiness came in, but it's not so strong.
Nope.
Right? It's there. It's prevalent. Which compared to the other ones, there was no smokiness there at all. And maybe I'm kind of jumping to a conclusion too fast. I overstated something. It's definitely something that's different.
Exactly.
It really is. Like, that would be one that I would highly recommend as well. You brought some great bottles here tonight, man. You know your stuff.
Thanks.
You know your shit.
But yeah, how it has like that rich fruitiness. It's just like a bouquet of fruits. I mean,
Yeah,
again, it's subjective.
it's all over the board, right?
What fruits that you identify or whatever. But
All
then it
over
has
the
that
board.
nice smokiness, not enough to overpower the fruitiness.
You can taste both at the same time.
Yep.
Which is so different.
Mm-hmm.
So different.
Yep. And that's what I like about this distillery is because, like, even their other styles, like their peat smoke or just their regular 10-year, which is available all the time, it's just the smoke is more complementary rather than some people that want a smoky Scotch. They just want all smoke. They just want to be drinking smoke. But I want other nuances in there as well, right? And these guys do a fantastic job at
what a blend,
balancing everything out.
Absolutely. You can taste the fruit, but feel the smoke at the same time.
Yep. It does have a little bit of saltiness too. I mean, it is
a
coastal distillery.
Not as much as
the Kalila,
that you could the salt you almost felt like you were on the ocean.
Yeah.
That definitely. Oh wow, very distinct. I mean, that's these guys did something very special.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
Very special with that.
Yep.
That takes workmanship right there.
It does. I forget her name, but I looked up a documentary on her, or just looked her up on YouTube. The master blender for this particular.
Michael, pull it up on YouTube. The master blender.
I think it's a woman. I can't remember. No, it was a man. I can't remember his name, but
Benromach.
He's fantastic.
Here, Mike.
He is a fantastic blender. And another fantastic blender, something else we're going to get into, is the Benriach there, the 17-year.
Yeah.
That's the woman that I was thinking about.
Okay.
Sorry. There's just so much information in my head. Sorry.
And let's talk about some of the ones that just, I mean, we're delving into some families or businesses that are part of that. But you have some, those staple names, right? Like, I noticed you didn't bring any Johnny Walker with you tonight.
No.
Right?
No.
And they have, was it red, black, blue? Is that
they got red, black, blue, obviously, is the really expensive one.
Right.
But they also have green.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, the green label is the best of them all.
Right.
It's, if you ask me, it's better than the blue. Like, I like the blue. It's really good. I've had it.
Yeah.
But is it $300 good?
Yeah. My aunt Lorna, who, God rest her soul, she passed away last year. She's Scottish.
Yeah.
Right. And they lived in Toronto for 50 years. And every time I went to visit them in Toronto, she had a Johnny Walker red label.
Yep.
And when I was a kid, I was like, how in the world could you drink that? You know what I mean?
Even now.
But it's I have a very good friend down in the Caribbean, in Cuba, that loves Johnny Walker Black Label.
Yeah.
Which definitely tastes much different than the red.
Oh, yeah.
Much
It's a million
different.
times better.
Yeah.
It's like night and day. Yep.
But when I go down to see him in Veradero next time, I'm going to bring a bottle of something that's going to be distinctly different, so he can really taste the completely difference of some of these scotches for sure.
Yep. Not sure if we're gonna find that there. There is. That's the Benriach one. I think that was the woman I was
Rachel
talking
Berry.
about. It is a different distillery. But the master blender for Benromach is also fantastic. I can't remember his name, but it ultimately comes down to this one and the Benriach, which we're gonna try next. Just the blending is just unbelievable. Another like masterful art of blending it, because they're going through I don't know how many barrels.
I know.
Right? We're going to do a little bit from this barrel and a lot from that barrel.
No kidding.
I mean, when you look at an age statement, the Benriach 17-year, what that is, it's a guarantee that the youngest barrel is 17 years old.
Okay.
There could be older barrels in
But that's
there.
the youngest.
That's your bare minimum of age.
Very cool. Very cool.
But yeah, even at cask strength, that is quite doable.
Easily doable.
Yeah.
Man, that is just phenomenal.
Wow. Yep.
I mean, there's fruit right there. Like, there's fruit on the tip of my tongue. And guys, it's hard to explain. I mean, you're listening to this podcast, you're driving your car, you're listening to headphones. Imagine eating like 4 or 5 different red or blue berries, but being next to a campfire.
Yeah, exactly.
Where you know that smell of the wood from the campfire. It's both of them are in my mouth at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot begin. Wow, like that is just phenomenal.
It is. Yep. It's a different kind of world. It brings you
Yeah.
into that world.
Oh,
right.
Unbelievable. I'm without question. And
Love
listen,
that.
we want to entertain your comments. I know some of you have your favorite scotches or questions that you may have. Please, if you have any comments or questions that you may have, put them in our comments section. If you have any questions for Robert, we can either redirect them to him, or you can go on his Facebook page and request a friend or have a friend request for him. And
Sure.
And I know that he'll respond. When you do that, though, send a private message for him so he knows, because you may be a stranger that lives in Vancouver, British Columbia, and I don't think Robert just wants to accept friends from all over the world unless he has an idea to say, hey, we watched your podcast.
Yeah.
We want to add you as a friend because we really love what you said, and
Yeah.
we love Scotch as well. There's a lot of people around the world that like to stay in touch with other people.
Exactly.
With an interest.
Yep.
A common interest, and this is definitely one that has, with all the videos that are on YouTube or on other social media platforms, there's a ton of people that love Scotch.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and personal message me. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Because, I get a lot of friend requests from really hot girls from other different countries.
Wow, man.
No, it's probably spamware. Yeah,
It is.
It is.
That's why I said, wow.
Just so I know it's not that.
That's a different podcast. They're called Fishers.
Yeah.
And you just don't want to accept those requests.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. Okay.
Or they'll cost you a lot of bottles of Scotch.
Well, they will indeed. All right. So we're gonna move on again for another peated. We're gonna go into the smoky world here. Okay. We already did the pretty nice, and then we did the unpeated from Isla. Not that one yet. We're gonna do this one. And this is Benriach, again, a peated from Speyside. This is one of my favorites, I would have to say, as well as the Benromach. I actually have 3 bottles of this because I loved it so much.
Wow.
And again, it's a privately owned company, which is something that I like. It's not going to deter me from buying like a bottle of Lagavulin, which isn't privately owned, but
privately owned means a lot of love goes into it.
Yeah, exactly.
There's the people who own a company like that. They built it for a reason,
right?
And
this is 17 year, so it's probably the highest age statement that we're going to be trying.
Okay.
Again, it's from Speyside, so you got that wood-based peat.
Mm-hmm.
So, campfire peat. It is unchill filtered also in 46%. I don't know if you can see this, Dennis. But if you look closely, there's actual sediment in there. Give it a good
I
shake
see it.
and look for those.
I do. I see quite a bit of it, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a pretty extreme example of unchill filtered.
Really?
You don't see that all the time.
No.
But with this particular malt, you do see it.
Most people would never walk up to a bottle like this and shake it to see that.
Yeah. That again is telling me personally that it's a really good quality malt.
Yeah.
But again, that's something that I wanted to show you because, like I said, it's a pretty extreme version of unchill filtered. Again, 46%. This one is extremely complex.
And Robert, I don't want to interrupt you, but I'm going to stop you just right there. That's the thing about walking into a facility, a store that has a multitude of different products. You should ask for somebody. Wouldn't you agree with that? You should ask for someone in the store that has that level of, or some expertise in that area.
Sure.
Because really, if you're new to the game, even if you're in the game of scotches that you like it, or rums or whiskeys, or which is obviously in the Scotch family or the whiskey family, Scotch is in the whiskey family, but find someone that has some knowledge base. Because they could lead you in a direction where say, hey, you like this, but you may like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like this. And what would your interest be? Like, where would you want to go? What do you really like to taste in your Scotch? You may say, well, I can take you in this direction. And like tonight, there's so many new roads for me. And I've been drinking Scotch for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And my cabin just got bigger, so I hopefully
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's ultimately...
NSLC, you'll see me tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, that's ultimately what I try to do. I mean, like, again, I'd like to make a disclaimer. I'm not here representing the NSLC.
No, but you're representing yourself.
I am
bring a valuable asset to the company because you've taken pride into your passion.
Yeah, I'm just being me or whatever, but
Yeah.
I do work at the NSLC. I mean, that's my job. That's my
And I think
livelihood.
more people should do it. I mean, really. I mean, if you have a certain passion, and there's a lot of people in that industry that there's nothing wrong with being a product specialist and working at a place like the NSLC.
Oh yeah, as long as you take pride in your work.
Absolutely, right? that can transcend into anything.
So this one to me is absolutely phenomenal. It's a 17-year and it cost $120.
Wow.
So again, really great value. Again, I'm not trying to slam Macallan because they do good work. Like, they build their own casks and they ship them down to like sherry producers.
Okay, but so I'm going to be devil's advocate. Okay.
Yeah.
Their bottles not here.
No, I'll bring bottles here.
Okay, but there's a reason why they're not.
Yeah.
Okay, so and we're not slamming any companies.
No.
But there's a reason why you have brought these.
You're right. Yes, that was
bottles
a good call.
with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And to say that Macallan's not in your top 10 is not a bad thing because it's all on personal preference.
Exactly. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So.
But I'm also just trying to introduce other different styles.
Well,
like I said
you have
before.
me. You have me. I mean,
that you don't have to spend $1 million to get a really good quality whiskey.
Yeah.
Because this one, it's a 17-year. And again, to reference Macallan again, if this was Macallan 17-year, you'd be paying about $300 for it.
No question.
You know, like, so you got a 17-year, unchill filtered, natural color whiskey for $120. And that's Nova Scotia prices.
Yeah. Which are not the lowest prices in the world, but we have a great province we live in. Yeah. And the taxes that we pay on our alcohol goes to a lot of other areas in our province.
A lot of great social programs.
When you look at what we provide for our services in our provinces based on what we sell, it's worth the money.
It is. Give this one a good nose.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Michael, have I told you how much I'm struggling with this? Oh, yeah.
Right off the bat.
Oh, man.
Holy.
Is that ever different?
Again, you get that smoke.
But not as distinct
as the Benromach?
Yeah. It's not as strong. Yeah. You can definitely smell it. But a different smell.
Yeah.
It's a different smoky smell.
Oh, yeah. And you got a lot of spices, a lot of aromatic spices going on in there.
And that's one of the reasons why, honestly, a good friend of mine, Alberto Pineda, from Punta Cana, Dominican Republic, actually gave me that bottle of Drambuie.
Oh, wow.
It's empty.
Yeah.
And it's empty for a reason. And it's different. But the spices in the Drambuie is what drew me to the Drambuie.
Exactly.
There's a lot of honey liqueur in it, which is tough to drink a lot of. But the spices really, and can you ever smell without that smash of honey? It's just pure spices.
Yeah. I get the honey, almost like some pepper.
Yeah.
Some rosemary, 100%. Some savory herbs. Turmeric even.
Michael, smell that.
Yeah.
My executive producer just said, all he said was, "That's strong."
And referencing his reaction.
Definitely smoke. Where there's smoke, there's fire.
If you find a malt a little too strong to smell, like from the alcohol content or whatever, open your mouth when you smell it.
Right.
It'll mellow it out.
Try that again, Michael.
It'll make it a little bit easier. You know, because it's not all going
smashing right into
nose.
his nostrils. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I've heard that many times before. Open your mouth, right? Your nose is going to just smash all those smells at one time.
Yep, exactly. It just kind of mitigates it.
If you take your time, you'll actually smell different things.
Oh, yeah.
Each breath.
Absolutely.
It's amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with this malt. Let's do it.
Yeah, man. That's
Thanks
nice.
for having me, Dennis.
That's
this
nice.
Is a great time.
No, listen, it's my pleasure. Absolutely. Oh man,
wow.
come on. Listen.
And let it go. It's swelling.
Oh,
Flavor's gonna swell
every second. It's like guys. You got to go see Robert. I can only explain this that when I swallowed the Scotch, it almost felt like the water went down my throat, but the rest of the product stayed in my mouth.
Yeah, and then it's just boom.
That was amazing.
Interesting journey, eh? And they all take you on different journeys. Some of them blast you with flavor right away. Some of them have a little bit of a delayed ignition. You're like, oh, what's this? And all of a sudden, boom. This is one of those ones where all of a sudden it's just like, bam, like a couple seconds later.
Oh, wow. That was... Ah, come on.
It's good.
Let's just say a case of Budweiser won't do it.
Yeah.
Wow.
This is a fantastic company.
Man, that was a
Benriach.
great choice. Buddy, I'm telling you, that was a great choice.
But again, I mean, this was a neck pour. So if you were to drink it to about here, like I said, put it in the cupboard, it would open up a lot more.
Still.
It's refreshing. Hey, it's like almost like it's
Man.
mouth-watering.
Like, that product explodes in your mouth. Like, it's just, the flavors are so different. Like, and guys, you're talking about a product it's not 40% or 30%. You're talking about something that should just bite.
It's 46%.
There's not a bit of bite in that at all. Not one bit.
Nope.
Not
Just
one bit.
all flavor. And again, those aromatic herbs and spices.
I still like
nice
literally
honey
feel
as
them
a background.
still.
Yep. Oh yeah, the finish is really, really long.
Yeah,
and that's due to it being unchill filtered and natural color. Think about caramel color. It's not the end of the world, but if you add too much of it, it will shorten the finish. It will just give you an abrupt finish.
Right.
You know, so like high quality.
Something I did
like
not
this,
know.
Yeah.
Not at all. I mean, and I've never pretended to be a Scotch expert at all. I've always been just someone that I did it for my own reasons. When it came to buying a bottle of Scotch, I said, hey, I've got no sugar. I want something that tastes reasonably good. But you've opened up the doors to a lot of different possibilities tonight, I can tell you.
What a world, eh?
Wow. I mean, I'm talking incredibly different. Every one of them have been different in their own way.
Oh, yeah.
You know, which, I mean, other products can be different, but they have a lot of similarities. These are just so distinctly different in every way. It's great conversation piece.
Absolutely.
No question.
And that's the thing, like, whenever I'm working or whatever, I talk to other people in my personal life. I'm like, do you like Scotch? They're like, oh, I don't like Scotch.
I know.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, there's so many different kinds out there. It's like, oh, I tried 2 or 3 of them, and I decided I don't like Scotch. So there is definitely a Scotch out there for everyone.
Okay.
You know, you just have to explore.
Yeah.
Right?
Cheers.
Let me finish it.
Absolutely. But we're not finishing the bottle tonight because we'd be in serious trouble if that was the case.
So, lastly, we are going to try this one. Yeah, pass it to me. This is a very rare bottle, and I do have another bottle at home open. I'm really scared to open it. It's Lagavulin. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that distillery. It's from Islay. The smoky, whatever.
I've never had
it. You've never had Lagavulin?
Never.
Well, their most common bottling is the Lagavulin 16.
Right.
And this one in particular, 16 year. This one in particular is their 200th year anniversary.
I see that. 200th year, yeah.
It is a 12 year.
I see that.
But it's cask strength. And that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks, oh, the 16 year, the 16 year. In my opinion, this one is way better. Much better crafted. And again, that cask strength with the richness of this one. Again, this one uses those short, fat neck stills, just like the Glencadam that we tried.
Right.
That one right there.
Yes.
So what defines this one over other Islay Scotches? It's got this really rich, malty backbone, along with like the smoky, peaty, earthy, nuances to it. But this one you're going to find is going to have an extremely long finish. It's going to take you on a magical journey. That's why I saved it for last, because it's a really rare bottle. I'm
listen,
surprised
I'm not
I had
complaining
this
about the
much
journeys.
left, to be honest with you. I didn't know I had this much left. I've been saving
This whole
it for a while.
podcast has been a journey for me. What do you mean this one bottle? This whole podcast has been a journey.
But as soon as I got my hands on this one, I searched all over the province to get another bottle so I could just tuck away, because it is the 200th year anniversary, right? So it only comes out every 200 years.
Yeah, so where can we find another one so I can...
I don't think you're going to find it in this province.
Come on, we have to dig some.
But you're going to get to try it.
'Cause
Right?
I know which ones I already have to get tomorrow, so...
Yeah.
I'll tell you what my favorites are after I'm done. Yeah.
And this one is sitting at, I think, about 50. Yeah, it's 57.7%. As you can see, the cork broke on me, but it's still a good seal.
Talk cork versus plastic screw-on.
Well, it doesn't really make that much of a difference.
No?
I think it's just mainly nostalgia. I mean, if you got a good cork, it creates a good seal.
It's a good seal, exactly.
Yeah, but the way I look at it, I mean, you could do it for wine, too. Some wine have caps, some have corks.
Right.
I think it's a matter of, like, tradition,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
you know? Like, a lot of high-end bottles have a cork.
I have a cork.
It's not high-end unless it has a cork.
Right.
You know, and you're going to see that with spirits. But for wine, you can get a lot of high-end wines that do have corks. I mean, do have caps, sorry.
Caps, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a lot of New Zealand wines. They're almost exclusively caps. Australia does that as well.
Yeah.
You know, so I guess it's a matter of tradition.
And we are going to do a wine one, right?
Yeah, we are going to do
We are going to do a wine one.
We are going to do a wine one.
We have some local wineries here
We do.
that we're going to reach out to and possibly work with them, because we want to also promote local products that we have in our area.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think we have any distilleries for Scotch whiskey, but...
Well, there's Glenora.
Yeah, that's Glenora. That's
up
right.
in Inverness. And
Yeah,
I did visit
Inverness.
them recently.
Yeah.
It was quite an experience.
What did you like about them?
What I liked about them is they're kind of it's pretty brave doing what they're doing.
Very true.
A single malt. And I think they had some sort of court case or something like that, calling themselves Glen.
Oh,
Because there's so many Glens out
Exactly,
there
yeah.
or whatever. And the Scotch Whisky Society came down on them when they had this huge court case.
Whenever somebody walks in and tries to take any minor amount of something that somebody else has,
Yeah.
the big boys walk in and say, no, not yet.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah, exactly.
that's the process of life in that situation. So
And they can't call
too
it
bad.
a single malt Scotch because it's not from Scotland.
right,
They have to call it a single malt whiskey.
exactly.
Just like champagne.
sucks.
You can't call champagne unless it's from the Champagne region of France.
Or it's a sparkling wine.
It's a sparkling
Which I see a lot
wine.
of that.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like that. But they had quite a court case. Apparently they won. That's what the guy disclosed to me. But
Good.
I don't know the details of it, so I can't comment it on either way.
That's good though.
But they're really brave to be doing that kind of thing.
Tell me about them. You know, is it a family owned business or?
Well, one guy owned it. He started up. I forget his name, but he died.
Right.
And there were a bunch of other people that kind of took over.
Yeah.
You know, to bring forth his like legacy or whatever.
Yeah,
They didn't want to let it die.
Right.
And I don't know. They do take a lot of pride in it. If you ask me, my honest opinion, they're not quite there yet.
Okay.
Because it's a pretty young distillery. They've been around for 30 years.
Right. Let's check them out, Mike.
With distilleries, it does take a long time to get there, but they do have a lot of pride. Again, they're non-chill filtered, natural color.
Well,
So
Cape
they are-
Bretoners, come
they're-
on, man.
They are in the
If they're
right.
not some of the best. Well, here's the bottom line: Cape Bretoners are from Scotland.
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
I know. I went to high school in Cape
Right.
Breton.
So the bottom line
their
is, if you're from
kind.
Cape Breton or Newfoundland,
Yeah.
you're from Ireland, Scotland, or England, but
Yep.
likely mostly Ireland or Scotland,
Yep.
and mostly Scotland.
Yep.
Right. So they're the closest thing to Scots as you can get.
Yep. And they got a huge Scottish pride up there.
Absolutely. So, yeah, good on them.
Yeah, it was the first single malt distillery in North America. There are others that have popped up. But
We are going to
they
reach
were-
out to these guys. I'm going to send them an email tomorrow, and we're going to see if they're going to send down. Oh, I've seen these guys, yeah,
Yeah.
on your shelves. We're gonna talk to these guys a little bit, but no, good on them. Good on them that Cape Bretoners that are Scots.
Yep,
The way it should be. So
absolutely.
we're smelling this one. This
Oh,
one's
we
different,
are.
right?
Oh yeah, it's different, all right.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Hey, just while you're trying this, you can read this one. They've released the Battle of the Glen
Battle of
Oh
the
yeah,
Glen.
yeah,
for their court case.
yeah. Paying homage to the court case. Yeah.
Wow. Can you ever? What distinctively different smells?
But again, you get that rich malt. You
Yeah.
see how it's really, really light
Oh
colored.
yeah, very light.
But that doesn't necessarily mean
No.
that it's lacking flavor.
Oh wow! Like what's that? What is that one
That's crazy.
smell? It's one smell in there. It's one. I can't even pick it out.
But you
Oh
s-
my
can
god!
Can you tell that smokiness is different than the other
Oh,
ones?
100%.
It's a different kind of smokiness.
Way different. Not so much campfire is smoky.
Yeah.
The lighter smokiness to it, but there's a smell in there. I can tell you. I can't even explain what it is, but it's so rich. Like it's just.
Yep. That's
it
that.
just
That's
stands
the
right
malt.
out.
That's the malt that I was talking about because of the short, fat neck stills. It retains a lot of the malt from the barley. And that's what defines Lagavulin from the other Isla distilleries.
Wow.
Is that rich, malty backbone. And this one is no exception.
Wow. Well,
If
if
you ask
it
me-
tastes as good as it smells,
This one, if you ask me, is 1,000 times better than the 16-year.
wow. Oh yeah.
Whoa.
Come on, man. Okay, guys, you need to be the host of this next podcast.
See that weird ignition, though?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's just,
And it keeps going.
it doesn't stop.
Yep.
Like it literally, the liquid's gone, but the flavor is just there, and it's not going anywhere.
Yep.
Not
that
going anywhere.
Earthy, briny
Oh,
smoke.
yeah.
You know, like.
So incredibly different.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, guys, I don't. If you're watching this podcast this far into it, you're a Scotch fan, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Most of the the fans just say, "Hey, I'm curious or interested." You've already probably checked out. So
Yeah.
if you're a Scotch fan, you know what we're talking about. That unbelievable taste that just stays with you.
Yep.
I still have it. There's
Oh, yeah. It's
not
morphing.
one bit of it's dropped.
Yep. And that's due to its viscosity, how viscous it is, and the high alcohol, right? That's what carries it along. Because
Yeah.
what I got is like big smoke right away
Yep.
with
Yep.
that maltiness, and then the smoke dropped off, and then it starts to get fruity. I got some
100%.
blueberry in there,
It almost feels like,
blackberry.
yeah, but just not only the berries, almost like the leaves that are connected to the berries. Like,
Yeah,
it just feels
yeah,
like
that too,
the
yeah.
whole plant's
Wow,
there, right?
yeah.
It's just really, it's amazing to sit that.
The journey that it takes you
Man.
on is incredible. This one in particular, yeah, it's very, very good.
Like,
All of them are, but this one being just its distinction is just unparalleled.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you have to take your time with a Scotch.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I got a
not
little
a
bit of
it's not
chocolate,
a
too.
chop a bunch of ice in it and just guzzle away. It's
No,
a good Scotch. There's nothing in it
you don't
other than
need
the
it.
product.
Room temperature. I mean, you can add ice. A lot of people do add ice, and
But
like I said,
most people do that just to kind of water down the alcohol content.
yeah,
Right.
Well, not only that, but it makes it easier to drink or whatnot. But
How
One
can
thing-
these ones,
yeah,
how could any
don't need it.
easier?
yeah, because when you cool the spirit down, you make it smoother and easier to drink, but you also dumb down the flavors.
Mm.
So something like this, I want to feel all of the flavor. I want to feel everything. So I'm going to do it room temperature, no water.
100%.
You know, sometimes I will add water if it's really hot, and I like to experiment to see what types of other flavors you get from it.
Yeah.
That's why we did the water with the Kalila,
Yeah.
you know, to try to experiment. And you could do that with this one as well, being 57%.
Now,
But you don't really need it for this.
cost of a bottle like that.
This was $160, $170.
So, for someone that loves Scotch, I mean, that really loves sitting down with a bottle of Scotch. A lot of the bottles that we've introduced you tonight range from around $100 to $180.
Yeah, around there. Yeah.
So you want to enjoy the money you spend, and every one that we've explored tonight is worth the money. There's no question.
Yep.
You know, you can get into some of the products that are here, like the Monkey Shoulders, the Shiva Regals, the Drambuies. They're all around $48 to $55.
Yeah, about that,
right?
yep.
Which is just a general introductory Scotch whiskey.
Exactly.
I mean, very basic caramel,
citrus
smelling. It's not going to blow your head off with a lot of smokiness, but give you a fruity flavor, more of an introduction to Scotch.
And just enjoyable too, right?
Yeah, and it's not going to break your bank. And, you know, you're going in, that goes back to that, you know, that Captain Morgan bottle of rum that people come in to buy, you know, whether it's spiced rum or regular white or dark, or whatever. There's flavors, but they're all around the same price tag, that $40 to $50 range. And they hold their weight. I mean, a lot of the podcasts that I've watched over the past, they say Monkey Shoulder's really a really good introductory
Absolutely.
Scotch.
Absolutely.
So if you haven't ever had Scotch before, a Shiva Regal, a Monkey Shoulder, Drambuie's not the same. It's just it's more of a shot glass type of
like a
whiskey.
shooter, aperitif, a digestif.
You only have one.
Yep.
These that we're talking about tonight are a whole different ball game.
Yes.
They really are.
They are. But I mean, if somebody's really interested in getting into that world, start off with your Jameson's or your Monkey Shoulder.
Jameson's a good $35 bottle of Irish whiskey.
Yep. Absolutely.
You know, Michael's had it many times, and I know in Cuba, like I told you before, you're spending $14 US on a bottle of Jameson's. That's worth every penny. A Shiva Regal's around 23, which is a good introductory Scotch, but then these are a whole different. I mean, it's like a whole different. Oh yeah, man, a whole different ball game. So,
because the more sips you take, right? Like when you take the initial sip, it's kind of like a primer. And then the second sip you take just kind of takes you to that next level.
100%.
And that's why I wanted to do this one for last, because it's a really special malt, as are the other ones, but this one being just such a rare bottle.
Oh yeah.
I thought we'd send it off with this.
Buddy, you've given me the yellow brick road tonight. I mean, really, I have to say it's been a pleasure to be your subject tonight, to be able to test these, because every one of them, and you know what? You know why I know you know what you're talking about? You've gone from the beginning, and you've taken me down this whole path, and the path says, "Hey, I know where I'm going." Right? So you need, if you're interested in Scotch, if you've never had Scotch before, you need to come see Robert in Bridgewater at the Liquor Commission here in the Plaza. In Bridgewater. If you're not from here, obviously, and many of our listeners are going to be worldwide. So if you're not, take a moment, go into your product expert, ask for them.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to spend 5 seconds, because that's where we met each other.
Yep.
Right?
Yep,
is
exactly
asking for someone that has the product knowledge, because those individuals will give you the right information you need.
Yep. But it also comes down to people wanting to people to be willing to learn.
Yeah.
Essentially, you know, like you could go on, you could look at multiple reviews, and a lot of the reviews are different. Somebody would be like, "Oh, I don't like this," and the other one's like, "Oh, this is the best."
That's just personal taste.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just personal taste. I mean,
so my style is I look at multiple reviews and I look for commonalities in those reviews. They're saying the same things about them.
Exactly.
So I mean, like anybody, if you don't have like a product specialist or whatever, you don't have someone that can help you with it, you do your own research, do multiple sources, and look for commonality.
And how could you not get that today in today's society, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Robert, thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thanks
and
for having
sharing
me.
Your wisdom, your knowledge, your passion, and your love for a product that is near and dear to both of us. Well, you've taken me to a whole different level, man. You've taken me to you show me the force.
Yeah.
When it comes to Scotch whiskey tonight.
Thank you, and you're showing me your passion. Cheers.
Absolutely. All the best. Hey, it's Dennis Woodworth and Michael Woodworth on the weekly Woodcast with Robert Baker, and we're going to be taking you guys to another level the next time. Happy holidays to everyone, and make sure you don't drink and drive. All the best. Take care.
Thanks.